Welcome to our Six Sigma overview. Again, I'm Jerry. I'm from Bridged Inc. Today, we will be discussing rolled throughput yield, or RTY. I would like you to imagine with me, you're the owner of a burger chain, and today you will be serving 80 people with burgers, of course, and they have requested special toppings. These special toppings include mustard, tomato, lettuce, pickled cucumber, of course, patty, and sliced cheese. In order for us to prepare, we will go through our 4-step burger process. The first process of which is to toast the buns. You started off with 100 pairs of buns, and only 90 pairs were toasted well. There were 5 pairs that were over toasted or burnt, and another 5 pairs were deformed or smashed bun. The next process would be to top with dressing. Now that you have the 90 pairs of toasted buns, you have this process now to prepare the toppings. As I mentioned, the mustard, the lettuce, tomato pickles, and the ketchup. And out of this process, we're able to produce 90 toasted buns with the correct toppings. Then the next process would be grilling. Now we're grilling the patties with the cheese on top. And out of the 90 pairs of toasted buns from the previous process, in this process you were able to get 80 sets of grilled patties and cheese out of the 90 burger patties and sliced cheese that you started with. You have 10 pieces that were rejected primarily because they were burnt patties with the grilled cheese already there. Finally, we're going to assemble and serve the burgers to your customers. So there are 80 burgers that were served. So if you take a look at this is what we call a final pass yield. Out of the 100 sets of materials that you started with in the first process, you came up with 80 pieces in the final process. So 80 out of 100, that makes up our 80% final pass yield. There were 100 sets, again, of ingredients prepared. 80 sets of burgers came out. These burgers were just enough for you to serve your customers. Now, let's take a look at a process with a hidden factory. Let's say your hidden factory exists in process number 2. In process number 2, your crew committed a mistake. Instead of putting in mustard, she placed mayo. And instead of putting in pickled cucumber, she puts in onions on 10 of the toasted buns, which means they cannot be served because they are incorrect. But what she did was to rework, meaning she scraped off the mayo and replaced it with mustard. She also removed the sliced onions and replaced it with the correct pickled cucumber. This rework process is acceptable, but it entails additional materials because you have to throw away the used mayo and the used onions and use new material. Because of this rework process, your rolled throughput yield now becomes this one. Let's take a look at each of the processes first. So in your toasting process, there were 90 out of 100 or 90% yield. In your dressing process, you had 89% yield. In your grilled patty process, you had an 87.5% yield. And in your assembly, there was 100% first pass yield. So taking a look at this, you're still able to get 80 units in the final process, but that is composed of 70% which was coming from first pass yield and another 10% or 10 burgers that were reworked. Yes, you may have the same output, but in reality, there were additional processes, there were additional costs, there were additional manpower that has to be factored in. The formula for rolled throughput yield is that it's the product of all the individual yields per process. For our example, it is 90% yield for process number 1, 80% yield for process number 2, 87.5% for process number 3, and 100% for process number 4. So if we multiply all of these, it will equal to 70% yield, or 70% is your rolled throughput yield. So the reason we're talking about this is because if we open our eyes to roll throughput, we begin to see defects that are impacting our process that before we thought it's just okay, because in the end we were able to get the quantity that we required. But in reality, this is a problem. So if you would like to learn more, you can continue on to watch this video.